If you are an estate agent and you are banging your head against the wall, working for the man, working for an employer, and thinking, I think I could do better myself. I think I could start my own estate agency. Well, if you think about it, in the last few years, the self-employed model in UK estate agency has come to the fore. In fact, it was 3 or 4 years ago, which I predicted that I reckon by 2030, 30% of the UK estate agency population would be self-employed. Many people laughed at me at that time, but the way things are going and the noises that people are making, that could also be a reality by 2030. Today, I'm joined by 5 brilliant estate agents, all of whom are from the Keller Williams School of Self-Employed Estate Agency. Now, this is not a Keller Williams Fest sales pitch. It just so happens that these 5 agents are from Keller Williams. Other self-employed models are available. Keller Williams is one of my favorite, along with EXP and others. But today is about Keller Williams. And today I'm joined by Dominic Marcel, who is an estate agent in Milton Keynes, Richard Zeff from Northwest London, Sarah Metcalfe from the wonderful spiry city of Cambridge, Tom Ashwood from East London, and finally Daniel Lewis from Lawton in Essex. Welcome, one and all. Dominic, let's go to you first. I interviewed you a few years ago. Very impressive estate agent, if you don't mind me saying. Dominic, why did you start your own estate agency? Talk to me.
I think I got disillusioned with where I was heading in my employed role. I was a regional manager and didn't really like that you couldn't really make a difference. I think it was very much messages being passed on, and you learned quite quickly that the companies are structured in a certain way that meant that we couldn't really change how the ground root staff operated. And for me, we didn't seem to get the best out of the staff, and it didn't seem to be the best thing for the customer. So I found out about Keller Williams. And when learning about culture and the setup, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me personally.
Like we said, we're not turning this into a Keller Williams fest. Other self-employed models are available. But surely you would have had some fears about making that step. Got a mortgage to pay for, Gymkhana fees, Netflix, Sky package. I mean, you're the sort of guy that probably got the full fat package. So, surely you were worried about that.
Oh, petrified, absolutely petrified. I think one of the good things is obviously you can try and learn off of other people in advance, but it's never really prepares you for taking that step in the first day that you then go self-employed and realize that you have no money to rely on in terms of a basic salary. It's a fear that, to be honest, you don't ever really get over. You still will have that even if you're 2, 3, 5, 10 years into it, depending on what your results are like, especially in a sales-based industry. But it's surprising how quickly you can build up a pipeline to cover your outgoings. You just need that bridge to bridge the gap in between leaving employed and going self-employed.
Did you save up a lump of money before you made the move?
No, I'll be honest, I kind of just jumped into it. With hindsight, I completely messed the whole thing up, frankly. I remortgaged my apartment, took about 25 grand out. I put 5 grand into the business to start it, and the remaining 20 was to cover my outgoings for 6 months. So I literally blew 20 grand in savings just surviving because I didn't get my finances in check. I was living a regional manager's sort of lifestyle, and I had an expensive car and all those sort of things, all the things that you've just explained. So I blew through it very, very quickly.
What would you have done differently if you had your time again?
I would have got really brutal with my outgoings. I would have cut everything. I mean, we were very sensible in the sense of we didn't go out for dinners and all those sort of things. We cut down on the social things, but I would have got rid of my especially my car. I was paying £600 a month on a flash Audi that I didn't really need anymore. I would have got rid of that. I would have found a way to make it work, and I would have got super lean on my outgoings just to take that pressure off, so that I could act without fear and not worry about slipping back into that kind of transactional estate agency, take anything on.
Why didn't you do that? I mean, poor old you not going out, to Nando's or the fancy restaurant in Milton Keynes. My heart bleeds for you there, my friend. But why didn't you make those more sacrifices?
Probably naivety, if I'm honest. It was, I mean, I've come from an employed world. No one's ever taught me money management before. You're very much caught up in a rat race. You earn more money, you spend more money. And it was just me going into it full of confidence of I can make this work without really sort of planning it properly. And it's not the sort of skills that you're taught when you're employed.
I'm with you. Okay, let's go to Sarah. Is it Sarah or Sarah? I do apologize.
Sarah.
Sarah. Hi, Sarah. When did you put your notice in?
I was actually not unemployed, but self-employed beforehand. And my background's a bit different to Dominic's and probably the others. I am a total newbie in the industry. I signed up with Keller Williams at the end of September last year, and literally dove right into it. My history is in mortgages. I've got some conveyancing experience and my own property experience of buying and selling and renting my own property over the last 10 years.
So why did you want to be an estate agent?
Because I was sick of how a lot of things were done badly and the service level wasn't there. And I really wanted to make a difference, because to me, being in the service industry for so long, providing exceptional customer service is what I want to do.
So you've been in the game now, estate agency game, for 6 months. Are you beginning to actually see your hard work, from autumn last year coming to fruition?
Absolutely, 100%. So I've already sold my first listing, which I did in 9 days. I have become a massive fan of door knocking. I did that at the weekend and got 4 appointments off the back of it, all with people that have been on the market for a while, or have been on the market and withdrawn their properties for a variety of different reasons. But a lot of the reasons that people have come to talk to me about when I've been to see them is they've been frustrated with the service that they're getting from their existing or previous agent. The support hasn't been there, the updates haven't been there, the feedback hasn't been there. So again, really sort of highlighting the fact that I want to do a better job.
And what would you do differently?
Everybody's different.
I'm asking you, what would you, in hindsight, for the last 5 or 6 months, what would you have done differently?
I probably would have started door knocking a lot sooner. I started doing the social media thing first, getting my name out there, getting my name out there in the local area by dropping notes through, sort of detailing my service and what I offer and everything. But I didn't start with the door knocking. It took me a while to build up the confidence to that. But I'm seeing leaps and bounds with that. So I wish I'd done that sooner.
So when people open the door to you when you door knock, I'm assuming that they shout at you and tell you to F off and basically shoot you and do everything, and basically there's big scary monsters. Is that right?
Absolutely not. I had one lady drop through, that pretty much drag me through the door to have a value there and then on Sunday, because she just wasn't happy with the agent. I've had a really, really good response. I think for the simple fact that I turn up on someone's doorstep over a weekend, even when it's raining, I'm showing up, and that's what matters, because a lot of high street agents don't typically do that. So that is a lot for a customer to see. I'm already showing myself head and shoulders above some of the rest, because I'm out there being dedicated to giving a better service. So I've had a really good response. Thankfully, touch wood, no one's shut the door in my face just yet. And
so what if they do? They can't appreciate awesomeness. Interestingly, as we do this video in February 2022, I don't know if you're aware, but 32.9% of properties are presently on the market are out of sole agency agreement. Talk about low-hanging fruit. Big tip for you out there, and boys and girls out there in estate agency land. Go to Rightmove and don't put it in price order, but oldest listed first. Yes, the problem is that most estate agents, they're so full of ego that they don't want second-hand stock. They want the gorgeous new stuff. But when you go self-employed, you will take whatever you can, can't you? Daniel, how long have you been in self-employed estate agency?
So I've been self-employed estate agent for 18 months. I actually reached out to you when I got made redundant from the corporate world, and I was at that crossroads whether to go back into work for somebody. And we chatted through, I think one morning, we were both on our exercise bikes, I think. And we chatted through, and we went through sort of the offerings of KW and EXP and a couple of others, to be fair. And then I sort of went off and done my sort of legwork. But yeah, so 18 months and it's been going from strength to strength.
Now, obviously, your hand was forced because you were made redundant.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Do you think you'd have made the jump if you weren't made redundant? And please
No.
be honest with me.
No, I wouldn't have.
But what would you say to your, let's just say for argument's sake, you are who you are now.
Yeah.
And you could go back in time and talk to the Daniel Lewis who hadn't been made redundant. What would you say to Daniel Lewis 24 months ago who hadn't been made redundant, who had no inclination he was going to be made redundant? What would you say?
I mean, look, I say it to people now, Chris. I just say, if only this type of model would have been around maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would have maybe, wanted to sort of start by myself. I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we all want to do it. But I'm asking you, so you were made redundant.
Yeah.
Lockdown number 1, which was the spring of 2020. I'm asking you, Daniel Lewis, February 22, self-employed, awesome estate agent, to go back in time to the autumn of 2019.
Yeah.
What would you say to Daniel 2019 now? Because Daniel 2019 wouldn't have made the jump, would he?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't have done. I would probably say that there are other opportunities out there, and to look into those opportunities, because the high street will still be around. However, this type of model is now the way forward. So I would say to Daniel Lewis back then would be to look at the options available.
Okay, let's not come on, Daniel, me and you, mate. No one else is watching. Okay, cut this model bollocks. Okay, let's get down nitty gritties. Let's talk emotion.
Yeah.
Daniel from 2019 would be bricking himself. He wouldn't have the balls to hand his notice in. But what would you say to him, looking him in the eye now?
Well, I would say nothing ventured, nothing gained. To go into this type of model now, you don't need a load of money behind you. You really don't. What
about the fear? The fear of either running out of money or looking stupid to your mates?
I would say, look, reach out to people within the industry that have been doing this for a period of time and have a conversation. I think, whether it's, KW or whether it's other models, there's lots and lots of people that have experienced highs and lows that, genuinely reach out and talk to us, because we'll tell you how it is, warts and all.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, come on, mate. I'm sorry. I'm
gone.
Talk to me about 2019 Daniel and his fear of, I'll do it next year. What would you say to him? Come on, grab him around the fucking neck. You got a sentence, 2 sentences at most to grab him and say, sort yourself out. I have been to the other side, and this is the way forward. I am so much happier. My other half.
No, look. My life has changed totally. Work-life balance.
Good.
Huh?
We're getting somewhere now. Your life has changed. Why has your life changed?
Yeah, well, it has. Work-life balance. I'm back doing what I enjoy. I'm sitting in front of people where I can actually make a difference and help. I was a regional director at corporate, and I used to go round, and some managers would listen, some managers wouldn't, and it was like banging my head against a brick wall. So I'm back doing what I love, what I enjoy. Back to doing proper estate agent. Oh, without a doubt, happy. Look, I'm working harder than I've ever worked before in my entire life, but it doesn't feel like work. I think, 9 o'clock yesterday morning, I was doing, an open house till 12, and then I finished there and went and watched my son play football. So it's working around. It's work-life balance, but it's so enjoyable. I'm back to doing really what I was doing. I know I don't look that old, but in the late 80s, early 90s.
There you go. I mean, look at you. You're only 26. You must have had our paper out.
All of you, like.
And if I ask your closest family to describe you now compared to the 2019 Daniel, what difference would they say?
I would say it's like a massive weight that's been lifted off my shoulders. When you enjoy something so much, then the people around you will obviously benefit massively from that.
Would you say you're a better father and husband?
I would say so. Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, you know, it's nice to pick my youngest daughter up at the school gate, and that's where I do a lot of my business as well. I think my only regret is that I couldn't have started this a long time ago, and my only regret is probably not having my face on my for sale board. They're my only, you know.
Yeah, well, we don't want to put them off, do we, Daniel? Right.
No, I don't want to cause road traffic accidents, do we?
Okay, let's go to my very good friend, Richard Zeff. Zeff Meister, you've been there, done it. You work for a large independent in the Watford Bushy area, but now you've seen the light and started your own agency. Why is that, mate?
I think the main reason I did it is the job I was focusing on mostly for the last 8 years was running estate agents rather than being an estate agent. And the last few years, that really meant running a team of about 12 people in various different departments: sales, lettings, management, accounts, admin, and very rarely I was an estate agent, and that became very difficult. I think I'm one of those people that became a manager in the corporate world quite young, in my 20s, and thought that was the place to be, running a branch with 4 or 5 staff. And although it was always stressful, you sort of, it made your ego feel good because you were young and you were managing people, and that felt great. And then the older you get, and when you become a parent, you realise that managing people is a bit like being a parent. And I'm a parent at home, and to go and parent 12 other people, sometimes it's a bit like that, not always, but it definitely is a bit like that. And it just kind of, I wasn't doing what I was enjoying. I'd still go out and value sometimes, and even then, I wouldn't have a lot to do with people because the sales team and the sales manager would kind of take it over quite often. And the stress, if I'm honest, my particular job that I had previously, was the stress was quite high. So I was looking at different alternatives. I initially started looking at maybe more traditional high street franchise, the sort of Martin and Co, Belvoirs, those kind of options, and looked at the finance and what that would take to get up and running, and companies like the self-employed model. As we know, there's a few out there, Keller, who we are, EXP, and I started researching them. I think you and I probably first spoke about this 6 months ago, and yeah, so I just wanted to do the one that was most aligned with my values, and also to understand the model and how it would work. And pretty much like everyone on this call and every self-employed agent in the country, there just comes that point where, worrying about starting something new, not having any stock and not having a pipeline, you just got to get over it. You just have to get over it. It's horrendously terrifying, and I was on the fence for 6 months. So so I know how difficult it can be to make that jump.
How long have you now been in self-employed estate agency?
But it's quite a while now. You're looking at about 17 days.
Wow, a whole 17 days. Wow.
Yes.
Can you remember when you told your wife Hayley that you were wanting to become your own estate agent?
Yes.
How did that go?
Initially, she wasn't overly excited about giving up a reasonably well-paid job with a nice car and a very, very regular income. Initially, she wasn't too pleased about that. Yeah.
So, for anyone watching this, it's not a case of persuading your other half. How did you get your other half on board?
Well, I didn't try and get her on board. If the truth is said, I did tell her that I, felt that next 5 to 10 years, I think I'm going to have to explore some different version of estate agency rather than managing companies, because I found that really, really stressful. She was totally aligned with that. And then as I started looking in the self-employed model and reporting back, Hayley was really keen to find out more. I think as well, she'd seen the impact of the stress on me and on us as a family and the kids as well. So I was happy we could find something suitable. By the time I'd explored various avenues and comprehensively looked into things, and lots of meetings and away days and discovery calls with various self-employed models, she like me was keen, nervous, apprehensive, but keen to start going.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Let's go to Tom Ashwood, who's in East London. Tom, thanks for joining us today. When did you become a self-employed estate agent?
I joined Keller about 14 months ago.
Okay, and what type of job? Don't tell me the firm, but what type of job were you in before?
I was actually self-employed, so I've run a couple of kind of e-commerce businesses, which is, I think, for me, one of the things I didn't struggle with transitioning was the self-employed part of it. I had been for 6.5 years, so there was no kind of scaring for me from that point of view.
Why did you want to become an estate agent? Had you just been watching Homes Under the Hammer like the rest of us and decided I'll have some of that?
No, I fell into estate agency at 15. So I was asked to basically just cover phones for a friend when I was at school. That then led into work experience. And I was offered a job full-time when I left school. So I sort of worked in agency up until I was 24. I was a branch manager, ran 2 offices for a big company. Again, very similar to Richard, thought I'd made it. That's it. Branch manager, that's me set. Then I had a family. My first son was born, and I realised that I wasn't earning the money that I wanted to be. Working silly hours, not really being rewarded for it. So I had an opportunity to change career, which I did, but I'd always wanted to just come back for some stupid reason.
You always want to come back, don't you?
Yeah.
You always, I tell you here and now that no one's listening. I even said to the wife a year ago, I fancy starting my own estate agency in Grantham, and because I've been out of the game for about 5-6 years. Anyway, I think the word divorce was mentioned a number of times in a number of sentences, but God, I miss it. It's a great job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, to be fair. I mean, I'd got to a point where I was fairly financially stable, and I had the same conversation with my wife. And when we'd looked at the cost of getting set up and stuff, we decided it wasn't the right thing to do, but that I could afford to earn less money. So I went back into agency, worked for a big corporate, and lasted 6 months. The money that I was generating then and the salary that I was being paid was just ridiculous.
Okay, I mean, let's be honest, all 5 of you are successful. I know, Richard, you only just started, but knowing you will be successful. There's plenty of people out there who join the self-employed models, and then you check back on them 6 months later and they ain't there. Okay, why don't you think, and again, I want you to put your hands up if you've got something to say, but why do you think so many people fail at self-employed estate agency? Good stuff. Well done, Tom. Everyone else, you're going to get picked on soon. Tom first, then Richard. Go for it.
I think in the politest way, a lot of people bottle it. You get to that tipping point, as we all have done, and you think, is this actually going to work? I was there last year. I'd started very, very well. I'd done okay. And then I got to, I'd say, probably June or July. And I kind of thought to myself, on paper, when I started looking at numbers, I hadn't actually done what I thought I would have done. And it'd have been very, very easy at that point to just sort of go back to things that I knew, jobs that I could have taken in other places and stuff. Been offered several jobs back in real estate agency, where high street estate agency, whatever you want to call it, since I've been doing this. And I think for a lot of people, it's just a security blanket of a basic salary and a car and that kind of stuff.
Do you think it's almost, Richard, an addiction to have the company car and the salary coming in? They're almost paying you off. It's like a bribe.
I think that there's a far bigger price to pay than just your time. when you're going to work for somebody else's business. You know, when you're getting to that starting supposedly at 9 o'clock, which we all know just never happens. You know, the 9 o'clock starters normally are in the office working at 8:15, and the 6 o'clock leavers are normally leaving at 7, and it wouldn't be a rarity to be leaving at 8-9 o'clock once or twice a week as well. And so there's that. The cost, I think, is a lot higher than just your time, and I think you're giving up a lot more of yourself, mentally, physically, than we realise we do.
Dominic, you said that you borrowed on your house. Do you think, what would your message be to people? Do you think, number one, bring down your costs, have a real hard look at what you do cost yourself? Because isn't it interesting that as our salaries rise, our costs seem to rise with it, don't they? I mean, I don't know if that, do you think in hindsight 20 grand was enough?
Live off. I think 20 grand was too much, frankly. To burn through 20 grand in 6 months was ridiculous. You know, if you think about the cost of actually getting the business set up cost me 5 grand. In the reality, it's nothing. I mean, at the time, my home situation, my partner had just moved over from another town, so she wasn't working. So we literally had a zero income in our household. If she was working, we would have been all right. So I think that was a mistake on my front. But the financial pressures are, everyone always says, put 6 months worth of money in the bank. Yes, you'll probably start seeing some money coming in 6 months, but it's not going to cover all of your outgoings, not unless your outgoings are really, really low. I mean, interestingly, when you were obviously asking that previous question, the initial things that jumped into my mind was, I think it's easy to kind of brush over the fact that it's really lonely being a self-employed agent, going from that branch atmosphere where you've got that camaraderie, that team, that team spirit, which keeps people in there for so long. It's hard when it's just you. It is sad, it is lonely, and it is tough. And I think it's easier to then get beat down when you do get rejection, or you've sent out 100 letters and no one's calling you. There's no one there to keep picking you up. And I think the other thing from there is then the confidence piece. Like Tom said, I was 24 hours away from chucking the towel in, and if I didn't have 3 sales come together the day after, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I think Adam Day puts it perfectly when people join EXP and he says, welcome to the roller coaster. You ask any self-employed person and it is highs and lows, and it's constant. It's tough. You have to be mentally tough to succeed in this. It's not just about being a good estate agent. You have to be a strong person.
Daniel, how do you cope with the roller coaster?
Well, I was just sort of something that Dominic just said there. I mean, I was really lucky, because the first thing that Keller turned around and say is let everyone know what you're doing. And a lot of people around me were very, very supportive. So one guy turned around and said, look, I've got a spare office within my office. So he runs a lettings business, and there's a surveyor there. So I was lucky enough to have some people to bounce off. And within the industry, I've been in for quite a long time, so there was people sort of chucking stuff at me early doors, so I was sort of quite fortunate with that. And then with regards to working in and living in the local community where I've been for 22 years, again, lots of people know me, not a lot of people knew exactly what I did, but when I start to spread the word, so the community's been brilliant, and I've given back to that. I do like a monthly property clinic. But it's really important that you reach out and tell everyone that you're doing straight away, because you'll be surprised what people are prepared to do for you.
It's all about the communication and being part of the community. Sarah, have you had a wobble where you nearly chucked it all in?
I didn't get to the chucking it in point, but I'm not going to lie, it has been hard. It has, it was. I've had plenty of nights where I've been like, oh, have I done the right thing? But then I'm not. But then I rely on the support of the WhatsApp group we have within Keller, and my husband as well, who's incredibly supportive. And it's like, just keep plugging away, and eventually it will come good. And it is. I'm really starting to see a massive difference. But yeah, like I said, it has been hard. How have I coped with it? Just by stepping away and taking some time for myself, just to reset. I won't lie, there's been a lot of chocolate involved as well. But yeah, like I said, it's worth sticking with. So anybody who's contemplating the self-employed model, it isn't going to be easy, but it will be worth it.
Okay. Now, interestingly, as you know, the thing I love about Keller Williams and EXP in particular is the culture and the values that you adopt to. But I've noticed that there's a good chunk of you who do interact with each other, because let's be honest, you're not in competition with each other, but the person who's in the self-employed model with you is kind of knows what you're going through. Have you noticed there are people that come in who don't talk to to their fellow brothers and sisters in the brethren, as they would call it, and they tend to bugger off? Is there a direct link between those that communicate with each other? Dominic, talk to us.
Yeah, I'll be honest. You see it all the time. In all honesty, you got a lot of people join these sort of models for what they get, and it's a case of great, I can start my own business and with no cash flow, and it's almost sort of the ambitions to, I'll use you as a stepping stone, and then I'll plug out and I'll have my own ready-made estate agency. Thank you very much. But the reality is that the people that lean in and collaborate and ask questions, and even those that give back, I think one of the things that always keeps me pushing on and doing better is going to different market centers across the country and actually talking about what you do and your journey and all that sort of thing, because it reminds you of the things that you're not doing well. Unless you think that you are the finished article, and if you do think that, then you're going to have a very harsh reality check. You can always learn, always get better. You've got to adapt. Different people are going to be better at different things. So by leaning in and not letting your ego get in the way, and you can then improve yourself on a consistent basis. And I think that's one of the things which I think goes under the radar with these sort of models, is that it's not just enabling you to have your own estate agency. It's actually making you a better person. I know that's a big statement, but it really does, because you can be a better version of yourself at work, which will make you a better version of yourself in your home life.
So basically what you're saying there is lean into the people that are in your organization, because if you think about it, whilst you're on your own, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
There you go. I like.
There you go. Trademark that, Chris.
Philosophical today, mate. Okay. So let's start wrapping things up. What advice, someone watching this and they work for one of the corporates or working for an independent, and they think, I could do with this. One of the things that you've all said is save yourself a chunk of money. Do you think that's important? Yeah, come on. Yeah, Richard, and then Sarah. Go, Richard.
So I think that that is important, and not necessarily as important as we think. And I don't want people to not get the responsibility of managing your finance. I remember when speaking to another self-employed model last year, and the guy there said to me that definitely don't have more than 6 months worth of living expenses budgeted for, because you'll wait till you get down to your last 3 months worth of living expenses, and then you'll really start working. Which I thought was good advice. Although I'm not telling people trying to get 3 months worth of living expenses and quit their jobs. But the one thing also that held me back for quite a while was I was trying to get everything sort of perfect in my life before leaving that secure regular income, and I was trying to organize lots of things, and every month I gave myself a reason, not next month because I've got to sort this out with the kids and that's not going to be done till October, and not next month because we need to wait on the end of year bonus, and not the there was always this thing. I always was sort of like and one of the things that I get from the team at Keller, and I'm sure other models are the same. It's about getting it done. It's about being consistent and getting it done. And that message, even in the last 17 days, has been really powerful. It's had a very positive effect on my own efficiency.
Sarah, what have you got to add to this?
So I think it is important to have some money put aside, but it isn't. I don't want to say it's not the be all and end all, because I think it is important. However, if you have a partner who has a regular job, that does take some of the pressure off as well. Or if you aren't already in a state agency and are coming to it from another point of view, you can run this alongside your job and then do more and more and more, and then eventually go full time. I've seen other people do it. They've had another job 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and they've worked this around it. So it's not impossible to do it no matter what situation you're in. You just have to have the drive to do it. And I think, going back to one of your earlier questions, why do so many self-employed, well, not just estate agencies, but other self-employed businesses fail? I think with people who lack the drive and the determination to make it work, that is a large portion, large reason why businesses do fail. So you have to be in it to win it. You have to get through the hard times. You will appreciate the high times, but drive and determination will make you successful.
Good stuff. Tom, what have you got to add to this, mate?
I just wanted to say that for me, I think drive is a massive thing, and sometimes that's something that you have to reaffirm yourself. I'm a very driven person, but I think at certain times through this, I've had to kind of look at myself to keep that going. I think one of the big things which we talk about a lot at Keller, the team, is culture. You know, having accountability partners and stuff like that as well is massively important. Because ultimately, I mean, listen, if you fail, you're only failing yourself. But I think actually you look at the bigger picture, and I think what a lot of us, particularly here, want to do is really push Keller to the forefront.
Good stuff. Good. Tom, now Keller runs assist, and as I said, I'm not being paid to do this. I am a fan of Keller. Other self-employed models are available. But Tom, what centre are you with?
I'm with Plus.
Okay, which one's that one? Because you've all got bloody weird names in Keller Williams centres. You may as well just you've got a brand bucket of names and you just go and grab it, don't you? Where's Plus?
Mark and Claire Reddings, their market centre, which is was Brentford, now Chelmsford.
Good stuff. Richard, which centre are you in?
I'm also in Keller Williams Plus Chelmsford.
Okay, then Daniel.
I'm also with Keller Williams Plus.
Are you all? Hold on, just Sarah and Dominic. No, Dominic, you're not in Plus, are you?
I am.
You are.
I am. I've moved.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I tell you what, no one told me that. Right, boys and girls, I'm just saying for the record, your choice of Keller Williams Market Centre is, in my humble opinion, unbiased and unpaid, is very, very important when choosing, because I'm going to finish this conversation. Has anyone got anything else to say before I finish this conversation? Anything that's burning that they want to say? Sarah, you say your bit and then I'm going to conclude off. Okay, go for it.
Just another tip for anybody who is considering a self-employed model. I do think no matter who you choose, do your due diligence first, because there are a lot of options out there, some better than not. Obviously, I'm biased because I chose Keller Williams, but I didn't just look at the Keller Williams. I looked at another one, but they weren't looking for people who had no experience, so to speak. So for me, going in with essentially no agency experience, the other thing that was important to me, as well as the support, was the learning and the training. And with Keller Williams, you get that in bucket loads. If you think, oh, I'm not sure about door knocking, getting higher fees, social media, there is training for it. We have loads of training every week. And I think for somebody who's a little unsure, or on the other end of the scale, who has a lot of experience, there's always something to learn. So I think that was really important, is to find a model that offers the support and offers the training, because then you are basically guaranteed to succeed as long as you've got the drive and determination.
I will certainly give you that when it actually comes to training, no one can touch Keller Williams. No one in the UK, from what I have seen. Daniel, what have you got to add on this?
Yeah, it was just a quick one, really. Is that one of the reasons why I joined this model is that you have the opportunity to build out teams, and that was something that interests me. So I've now just got an agent that's working in the town just along from me, and after speaking to Dominic the other day, I'm about to employ a full-time admin person.
Oh,
Good
well,
man.
Dominic said, don't do part-time, do full-time. So I've taken Dominic's advice on that. That the opportunity to build out teams was a big yes from me.
good stuff. I just want to say thank you, all 5 of you, for your time and efforts today. All of these can be contacted on the LinkedIn if you want to have a chat with them. For those of you who are watching, sitting on that fence in employed life, self-employed estate agency is something that I'm an absolutely massive fan. However, I'm of the opinion that only 1 in 5 of you have the ability and mindset to be successful at it and still be there in a year's time. It does require sacrifices and certainly saving a certain amount of money to parachute you from employed life to self-employed. I too, in 2013, were forced out of my job, and I'm like a pig in shit at the moment, pardon the pun and pardon for the swearing, but I wouldn't have made that jump unless my hand was forced. But God, I wish I'd have done it years before. The difference is that you will have to get yourself out of the comfort zone if you are going to succeed. One model is not better than the other. I do love the Keller Williams model. Certain market centres are better than others, in my humble opinion. Some of them are atrocious. Some of them are absolutely amazing. You've got to go out there, talk to the people and find out which one works for you. Other models are available. I'm a massive fan of the EXP model for the right people. But as Sarah said, they don't tend to accept people who've not been in the estate agency. But there's plenty of other people like Richard, who, part of Keller Williams, is an established estate agent. But quite frankly, boys and girls out there in estate agency land, you shouldn't make your choice on what percentage the firm takes. You should actually look at what you get for your money. In a nutshell, you're giving around just under 1/3 of your fee away, up to a certain amount each year. There is a cap, it's called a cap. And you've got to decide, what do I get back in return? As Dominic rightly said, if you're just using this as a springboard to start your own estate agency, so you haven't got to spend 2 or 3, 4 grand a month on Rightmove, Zoopla and a CRM system, then I'm sorry, I think you're going to fail at this because you're going at it with the wrong attitude. But if you see this as a springboard to making your own estate agency with people you can work underneath you, then quite frankly, it doesn't really matter which self-employed model you go with. People ask me all the time, which is the best self-employed estate agency model? And my advice is as follows. They're all as good and they're all as bad as each other. The only variable is this. Number one, the person who is your point of contact at the center. Okay, they're the ones to guide and support you, train you and put you in the right direction to make you accountable. But in reality, the biggest person who will make the difference, whether you succeed or not, is the person who looks at you in the bathroom mirror every morning. And only you can decide whether you want to, like Sarah, to go door knocking. Yeah. If you work for the corporate and you say you're going to do it, no one's going to check you up on you. But when you're on your own, if you don't do it, it ain't coming. You've got to go out your comfort zone. You've got to go and do videos like some of these guys on this here. You've got to go without. You've got to cut out the meals and the fancy cars. But if you can go without in the short term, you will win in the long term. You have to be entrepreneurial. And does that get taught? No, they can't teach you that at school. But sometimes you just have to go out there, get your hands mucky, get in the dirt. And you know, years later, you can be flying like your Dominic and like your Tom and like your Dan and Richard. You are going to be there. I know you are. And Sarah, you are going to be as well, as long as with plenty of other self-employed models. But fundamentally, it comes down to you. Are you going to get off your backside, do the hard work, and not just be like Oliver, who just like normal valuers, who just go out there and convert valuations? You've got to go and get the valuations. And if you can go out there, put the hard work in, put the miles in, do the door knocking, put the leaflets, do your social media, you are going to work harder, aren't you guys? Give me some nods here. You're going to work a lot more hours and you're going to work your backsides off. But trust me, the rewards are there, aren't they? Because look at them all. They're all like pigs in shit. They're happy as anything. And I tell you, you're in now, you're just loving it. So Thank you very much, boys and girls from KW Plus today, for your time and efforts. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if anyone wants to contact any of these lovely people, give them a shout. I have not been paid to do this video or any consideration from it. You know, I'm just a huge fan of the self-employed model, and but make your own decisions. And I wish you well. So thank you. Finally, thank you for watching this. And let's wave goodbye to everyone in the state of Sudan. So let's wave goodbye, everyone.